Welcome back, guys. We are continuing on with my interesting match replays, and next up we have another fairly unique match. Now, I'm not going to lie, this is quite an old video. I think I'd only had the game about 1 or 2 days, so I wasn't very experienced, and I played very retroactively, where I was responding to everything the opponent was doing, rather than proactively, where I was dictating the dance. So I was doing things like putting my army far forward and not protecting the flanks, waiting to see what the enemy was choosing. I keep calling him the enemy, the opponent. Waiting to see what the opponent was choosing, what abilities, before I made my decisions. So it's not a good way to play, but I was too inexperienced to really know better. But it was an interesting match nonetheless. So the opponent has got arc lights and sledgehammers, which are both anti-swarm. So I didn't bring any swarms. We've gone for all large units, and because he's got slow moving units, our sledgehammers are going to have a really good time. But it seems that they might... Oh yeah, I think they've got the job done. Thought they were going to struggle for a second there. So, straight away, we have call-ins, and he has chosen the missile strike, which seems to be the most common choice. It is very useful, especially early game. Now, I was having a look to see what I was planning on spending my cash on and what I could afford, and just having a little think about different strategies I could employ. And I decided to go for the Rhino Assault, even though the missile is the obvious choice. I just wanted to go for something a little bit different, because it's nice to try and catch the opponent off guard by choosing something that they wouldn't expect. So I decided to go for a Rhino Assault, see if I could flank the tower. And this was back when I used to think that Fangs, the shooting squad, was a good decision. It was basically just to try and protect the snipers. So because I haven't got any swarms, I felt like I needed some form of swarm. And I didn't put any shields down. So like I say, I was playing retroactively rather than proactively, because obviously I didn't know if they were going to choose the missile strike or not. And I got the tower. I was quite proud of myself, and then I realised, in a minute, what's going on down here? The opponent also went for a flank, because my flanks were completely exposed, and it caught me well and truly with my pants down. So there's me thinking my Rhino flank was perfectly executed, and then they go and pull off a counter flank. So yeah, like I say, retroactive decisions are not a good way to play. And this is where the fun begins, because my opponent decides he wants to go for a skill. I call it skill. It's there's not that much skill involved, just placing down a gigantic circle over the enemy. But some of the abilities do have a little bit of skill involved. But yeah, this is where the fun begins. He's just taken reduced cooldowns on the abilities. Now, at this point, I didn't realise that if you hover over this, you could see what the enemy's taken. So I had no idea that the other person had taken this skill specialist. Like I say, I'd only had the game for about a day or two. I was still learning the ropes. But retroactive playing, I've put some Mustangs down to deal with the crawlers. And I actually stuck a rocket this side just in case they went for another. So because I was pretty damn confident that there was another rocket coming in soon. Well, I knew there was another rocket coming in soon because he's already taken the ability. I thought I may as well stick some shields down. They'll help me to win now, and if they survive, they'll protect me from the inevitable future rocket. So the shields won me that round. And, to my dismay, the ability which destroys shields comes up. So, pretty damn typical that I go and put shields down to protect from a future rocket, and then the ability to destroy shields comes up. So yeah, I was a little bit annoyed about that. And this is the point where I don't realise that his missile strike has finished its cooldown, because I didn't realise he had this skill specialist. So I had no idea that there was a missile coming in on this turn, because if I did know, it would have been obvious that they would have chosen to shoot at the one target that isn't under a shield, and it would have completely left my flank exposed, and I would have needed another unit over here to deal with these crawlers. And now I realise, what? He's got his missile back up? What's going on? And that is when I realise that he's took the skill cooldown ability. So yeah, I know now that he's going heavy on the skills, and it's going to be incredibly challenging to deal with, because not only has he got two powerful skills that are countering what I'm doing, he's also got the skill cooldown, which means that they're going to happen much more often. So another skill that he's chosen, intensive training, decent skill. It's mainly good for giants, and he hasn't got any giants, but it's still decent for tier 2 units. So I'm just getting the shields up, and I'm pretty confident at this point that he's going to get Stormcallers to deal with my shields. So I decided to stick 2 crawlers up front to distract the Stormcallers. Now, it turns out he didn't buy Stormcallers after all, and you're going to see that these crawlers do more harm than they do good. Because what it's going to do is it's going to keep all of their enemy further away because they're shooting at the crawlers, which means my units are going to leave the shields to be able to shoot theirs. So the one proactive decision that I made turned out to be a terrible decision. So I've shored up this flank to combat the crawlers, but I've still left this flank exposed, which is a pretty terrible decision. But as you can see, the crawlers made my men run out of position. They all got shot, which meant that they weren't around to deal with their crawlers. And so yeah, my crawler setup worked out negatively for me. But fortunately, I had enough other troops here, mainly my storm crawlers, to deal with them anyway. So although it was a terrible decision, it worked out in the end. And would you believe it? The other ability that is good against mass shields, Ion Blast, is the next ability up. This is actually better than the Ion Blast, than the, I can't remember what it's called, Electromagnetic Blast. Because this damages the units underneath once it's killed the shields. So this is an even better version of the Electromagnetic Blast. And you're soon about to see that the opponent can't decide where he wants to target this Ion Blast. He obviously can't remember how far forward my snipers run. So originally he targets here, then he cancels it. Then he targets here, which is a strange decision. He's obviously trying to go for my Mustangs. Then he cancels it again, and then he makes the correct decision and puts it over where my snipers are going to be. So yeah, this is going to be painful. So his missile ability was back up again, which dealt with one of my squads. But it looks like the second squad got the job done. And the Ion Blast wiped out all of my snipers. Oh, one of them survived. So yeah, unfortunately, all of the skills that he's picked have really countered everything that I was doing. And I've still left this flank exposed, which is a terrible decision. So I was quite happy that there wasn't another skill come up here. There obviously is this, but it's not really a proper skill because it requires a giant to be able to use it. So it was pretty obvious that he was going to choose the level 5 crawlers, because that is what is required against my defense. So I decided to take the same, so I could try and match his crawlers with mine. So I'm shielding up again, but I know that it's not going to be long until his abilities come back online. And would you look, he's gone for a flank, but I have put a rocket here this time, so I have tried to protect it to some degree. But I really should have put some troops over there. So I've put some of my own rockets down here to attack their sledgehammers, and we managed to wipe out almost all of them. And if you have a look, there are 2 crawlers left alive. Them 2 crawlers are going to make it to my tower. So, unfortunately, the rocket did not get the job done. And he's got multiply, so every time he kills something, them 2 crawlers are turning into hundreds of crawlers. So yeah, that was a bit unlucky, that was, that my rocket left 2 crawlers alive. That cost us the battle. So I see underground threat, and it's pretty damn obvious. He's going heavy on the skills. It's clearly obvious that he's going to take that. So I decided to take it as well. And I haven't used my Rhino attack because everything was going okay, I felt, apart from his abilities. And I wanted to save the Rhino attack because it's got a huge cooldown. Wanted to save it for the right time rather than just use it because it was up. And I felt that now that I've got the crawler attack, maybe using them both at the same time would be beneficial. So I've gone for one over here and one over here. His rockets are in, or his missile I should say. He's got his electromagnetic and he's bringing in crawlers at the back. Now it's pretty obvious that he's going to be bringing in crawlers at the back here because he's already attacking the flanks here and here. So it was pretty damn obvious that he was going to be going for an attack at the back. So I decided to put some of my own crawlers here to deal with them. So the Rhino got the job done here, taking out the sniper, and the Crawler's got the job done here, taking out the tower. So although he's the one that's been pressuring the flanks, it's been my flanks that have been... Well, no, he has actually been quite successful. He has been successful twice, actually. So yeah, I was going to say my flanks have been more successful, but it was only that one, really. Caught him off guard. But it was enough to win the battle. So saving onto that Rhino for the right time, I think, was the right decision. But yeah, as you saw, I was basically playing to his tune throughout the entire battle, letting him dictate the dance. And this was a rather large learning curve for me in this battle. I think this was the one where I realised that you could hover over here and see what the enemy's abilities were. So it was an interesting battle. Loads and loads of call-ins, loads of flanks. Just something a bit different, and a huge learning curve for me in this one. So even though I won the battle, I knew that I was playing wrong, and that this was definitely not the way that I need to play. So I changed my strategy quite considerably after this battle. But I hope you enjoyed it anyway. So cheers for watching. Join me in the next one. We'll see what the next one holds. Take care, guys. See you soon.